Welcome to Attract and Achieve. This is a podcast where we introduce you to mentors and experts who have proven solutions for small and medium businesses. So, whether your needs include more staff, increased revenue, clients and customers, better marketing, or processes and systems that allow you to run your business without it taking over your life, subscribe below and we're going to introduce you. Subscribe below and let's do this.
Hello, Sunil. How are you?
Oh, very good. Good
Excellent.
to be here on a Friday with you, Jill.
It is, isn't it? I'm going to tell everybody a little bit about you, and then I'm going to ask you some personal, deep down, dirty secret questions.
Wow.
We'll see how that goes. Actually, they're not going to be. They're just going to be business questions. But I'm going to start by telling everyone a little bit about you.
Sure.
So you started your business in 1991, and since then you have been mentoring tens of thousands of professionals around the world about leadership, marketing, the finer aspects of designing breakthroughs so people can have really unprecedented results in their business and their life. And that's pretty exciting. You have is this true? You have over 200,000 people in your communities around the world, mostly in, I think, but.
Yeah, they're all in hundreds of meetup groups that I've started since 2008.
And so do you go into each of those groups? Like, do you see 200,000 people every month?
No, I don't see 200,000 people. A lot of them don't really necessarily see me either, but percentage of those people do come to my webinars and the webinars I host for other people who are in my programs or my clients, etc. And I try to do nowadays, in the early days, I used to do a webinar very often, sometimes almost every day, which is kind of crazy. And then I graduated to once a week. And then in the last 1 year or so, I've only been doing a personal webinar of my own, maybe once a month or so. But I've been promoting other people through those audiences. Yeah.
So tell me about that. So as a small business owner, I think this is kind of what drew me, I think, to you. I know the hardest thing as a small business owner has always been connecting authentically to clients and on an ongoing basis when you don't necessarily see everybody face to face every day or even at all because your staff or whoever spends time with them and sees them. So how does it work for you and your students when you design these meetup groups? How does that solve that problem?
It's interesting you said it that way because that's certainly a big, huge problem for people. The advent of the internet, I come from a tech background, but I'll say most people over technologize their business and they don't focus on what really converts and engaging. First of all, to be compelling rather than comatose. Most people write their promotions for their webinars or whatever events they do sound like almost everybody else.
And so many people are using AI now to do that.
Yeah, and I can tell, like a lot of other people who use that, you can tell right away it's AI. Because it doesn't sound like the person. I come from an AI background myself in the early days. I caveman AI technologist back in 1987, 88.
Well, you've got a computer science degree, right? That's an electrical engineering degree.
Yeah, that's right.
Doubly smart.
Doubly smart is what my mother would disagree, but yeah. Most people agreed though. My mother, I loved her, but I still love her. But they over technologize, I feel, and what they forget to do is to design first. I was taught as an engineer to design first by some very smart engineers who taught me well. They were German engineers who taught the value of design, starting from what you really need. So when I work with the clients who come to my trainings, first of all, the Meetup platform offers, which is what I use. I don't own it, obviously, but I use it. Offers a very affordable way of sourcing leads, effective. And I don't over promote this because I don't want to inundate the platform, to be honest with you. But it works pretty well. It's got 70 million people on it. People think it's a hobbyist platform, but a lot of these hobbyists are fairly well-to-do professionals in the main cities around the world, especially in North America, who have money and want to learn how to be coached, want to learn how to do business, want to learn how to sell, want to learn how to heal, how to do astrology. So if you want to educate, sell, it's not a bad market. And I came across this and I said, this makes sense. There's no competition. It's one of the last pieces of land on the internet that doesn't have a lot of competition. It's not inundated by marketers.
Interesting.
So I looked at that. I looked at at that time it was 40, 50 million. Now it's 70 million probably and growing. And I said, this is a good market. I just got to figure out how to work it. And it took a while because, it's a little clunky.
Yeah.
But once you figure it out, I figured out how to have groups in different cities that were kind of like ships going out to different cities, collecting people every week for a webinar. It's an online webinar, so all the cities could come at the same time, regardless of
Can I ask about that? So if I'm going to do a webinar in Calgary, where I am,
Yeah.
do I just post it general? Would I just post it generally in Meetup, or I would go into all of the cities that I want to draw people from and post it to that city?
In a simplified way, the answer is the second one that you said, the second option.
Yeah.
So you have many cities that you create communities in. You post the same online event to all those cities. And it's like what I said, 24 ocean-going ships that go out every week, collect people from different cities and bring them to the same online webinar.
And you always do those webinars live, or are they done like pre-recorded? I
always do live, and going with your question around interactivity is way more effective.
Yeah.
So, if I have mastered the art and science of engaging people in a short, precise presentation, PowerPoint usually, or just interactive, and then getting into a Q&A. The Q&A interactivity is where you really sell. It's where you engage. And that's where I teach, learn how to really sell. Old style, in human being to human being.
Yeah.
Figure out what they really want in their world or their life and what future they want to go, and then matching them with your program. So you're meeting them where they're at rather than trying to fit your program into them, which is what most people try to do. I teach people how to start with their most premium offer, most expensive offer, because if they can sell 5 or 6 of those offers in a year, they may be set for the whole year.
Right.
And work backwards from them to help them create lower price offers, and then backwards from that, create a discovery session write up. And from that, I help them write up their webinar. And then from there, help them design their groups. So it's very engineered, step-by-step process that makes sense. And then they have just the right amount of technology. It's not overwhelming. Admins can run the whole thing. You just show up for the webinars and you sing your song in a good way. And then you ask good questions. People answer those questions. You got to learn how to engage people.
Right.
And most people want to engage. They want to learn. They want to,
right? Like we really like to be connected to people, even if it's just like this. Like you and I've never met in person, but I still feel a connection to you because I talked a few times.
Yeah.
You're interested in a bunch of the same things.
Absolutely.
Right. So it makes it feel connected. And a lot of people are talking about this epidemic of loneliness and how unconnected people feel.
Yeah.
And
a lot of experts in the industry are actually very lonely.
Yeah.
Because they're not meeting people that they can connect with. And they've been trained to actually much rather disconnect than actually connect. Sorry to interrupt you, but there. Yeah. Yeah. It's that connectivity that people desire more than anything else. Well, I mean, it's high up there. Let's put it that way.
It's high up there.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It's a top 3, I think, need. So after food and water and sleep.
Sure. Yeah.
Right. Connection is sort of the next thing that we crave as humans.
Yeah. And they say if you go up Maslow's triangle, you're self-actualizing. But what does that mean? Usually it means creating a future that they really want. Most people, though, cannot articulate that future. So,
or they think it only has to do with stuff and money and private planes, a big yacht or whatever. And that's not all we need as humans.
I teach people this premise, like people are looking, what's life without a game? And what's a game without rules and a score to keep, right? And an endpoint. The game has a future for people. If you help people articulate the game they want to play, which most people are kind of lost about. And that's what I do in the Q&A. I teach people how to do that in the Q&A. so that you connect meaningfully with them. You have a game, you have a score and an endpoint you want to reach.
Right.
Why we connected very well and decided to do this podcast. See, I have a game that I want to play as well. And there are rules and there are scores that I want to keep, most of which have nothing to do with money really, except the scoring helps. The scoring of money helps in that it furthers my values.
Right.
Very, very clear about all that. I'm fortunate enough to articulate that, which builds a lot of trust in myself. So when I come to a webinar, I bring a lot of trust in myself, which seems to magically, I can't quite understand why, but I think it makes sense intuitively that it creates trust in the other person for themselves.
Plus, I feel like you're a human that brings, like, so sometimes you go to a webinar and it's a sales pitch. It's not I'm there because I want to learn something from you. You're there because you want to, not you. Teacher A is there because they want to sell something to me.
Sure. Yeah. And
so when you show up with,
sure,
I think that naturally makes me want to learn more from you.
Yeah, that's right. If you lead with the educational, and education is specifically geared towards helping them articulate the future they want and then show them how they can get there. So whether you're a chiropractor or you're selling nails, it's the same thing.
Right.
You're showing them, okay, this is the future you want. Why do you want that health and well-being in your body? Well, maybe you want to spend more time with your grandkids, or you want to be able to travel and be sprightly and enjoy life with your friends that you love hanging out with through your 70s and 80s.
Right.
You want to create that future, or you want to travel to Ghana and make a difference there, and your well-being has got to be tip top.
Right.
So now, if you help them articulate that, most of the time, it's really not about money or time. It's mostly about really fulfilling a future that they want. It could be a small future, quote unquote, small with their grandkids. Could be a massive one. Doesn't matter. It's a future. And you help them articulate the goal, the scorekeeping that they want to keep to get there, and the rules they want to play with, which are mostly the values. Then they are very grateful because nobody else does that for them. Because most people, you're right, want to just sell a square peg, which doesn't fit in their round hole. It has to fit. How do you find if it's a fit? Well, you ask questions in a cool way, just asking about that challenge and what you want to do, but really digging deeper. Because most people don't understand what their real challenges. They usually share a surfacey challenge which hasn't been articulated, therefore they can't solve it.
Right.
So that Q&A is magic. If you treat it like magic, it shows up as magic. How do you create magic? You listen in a particular way and you build trust in yourself so that when people feel that trust in you, they know you're not trying to take them for a ride, or not a ride they want to go on. Surprise ride.
Surprise ride.
They cost a lot of money. Hey, wow.
Oh, tell me about, so if I was going to take your course, how long is it? And like, I looked at all your courses and they are really fairly priced.
I'm laughing because almost every expert has come to me, including Imana Day, and said, Sunil, this is ridiculous. You should be charging $1,500. And I look at him and I actually agree.
Right.
But, my vision is to have 100 million joyful and successful entrepreneurs. And it's smoking. Because at some point, I will have to increase the prices.
Right.
It's just economically correct. But I do my best to have everyone who expresses an interest in doing the programs to work out payments and do. I just worked out someone with a Buddhist monk yesterday, lives in Japan, barely makes $50 a month. And she wanted to do my program really badly because it has a Zen Buddhist component to it. And she loved that and cut out a deal. Anyway, I'm digressing. But yeah, so there's a program coming up called the 6 to 6 course, which means 6 weeks to $6,000 per month. You'll learn how to create $6,000 per month. And we work on all the things I just shared, excluding the lead sourcing through the meetups. That's a separate program. But the 6 to 6 at 6to6.net explains how that works. Basically, I help people create an offer that nobody can refuse.
Right.
The Godfather kind, but it's compelling.
Right.
And it has integrity to it, and it matches your integrity, your personality, and your style.
Right.
But personal style has to flow in that offer. Otherwise, it sounds weird and stealthy and salesy. So I help them create that. And then from that, I help them create a sales funnel. You don't need to have an expensive sales funnel. It could be networking. And then I teach them how to do discovery sessions that are intriguing. They buddy up with people in the community because we've got a community of people who've done the course before, and currently it's a great, vibrant group, very, very excited to practice. And they love practicing what I teach. So practice a lot. They get really good at converting. And I just had a client yesterday call me and said she got a first ever sale after 1 year of being in coaching using the discovery session process. So, it works. It's designed to work the way my mentor taught me, which was to be, Sunil, you just got to be human.
Right.
To reach humans, you have to be human. You can't come across like a robot. And show me the opposite of a robot. Again, I had to be reminded that tender age of 29 years old when I started doing that. Bring all that wisdom from him and all the
wisdom you've gathered from all the things you've done. Because you have a lot of stuff.
Yeah, I have. Yeah.
And that always makes, I think, for a really interesting human, right?
I
And
believe so. Yeah. Yeah.
we all have different things that pull together.
Yeah.
Learning from somebody who's done.
Sure. Yeah. But
Interesting things.
the more you learn, the less you know. You just have tons more damn questions.
Yeah.
So this is why I've done a lot, but I still have so many questions. So when I meet even the young Buddhist monk I met yesterday, I was just generally intrigued about where she wanted to go with business in Japan.
And here's an interesting question, and maybe you don't know the answer. What's her business? I don't know what a business would be like for a Buddhist monk.
Originally, she thought she would be a healer. But in certain conversations that she had with another cohort of mine, she discovered that she's really an artist. She loves great art that creates a healing experience. And of course, the question came to her was, how do I sell my art? Is it really viable? All that. And it's not like she's going to find a magical solution to this overnight. But I have trained artists before to make money. And it has almost nothing to do with the art piece. It has to do what the art represents for the buyer.
Right.
How do you transform their future? It's always that question. Whether you're buying nails or a house or babysitting for your kids, you're buying a future, a new future. So it behooves her to create and define it, articulate what that future is for herself and for the clients. And fortunately, she had a few people who bought her paintings. So she went back and she managed to find out a little bit more about why they bought her paintings. And that's valuable to go back to clients and see, why did you pick me over someone else? And what changed in your future under working with me? That starts telling you right away what your real game is, how you keep score, how you could keep score, and how that score could also be partly money. So you have a more interesting business, I feel, more compelling, because you don't sound like everybody else. I feel like almost everybody helps somebody else create a very distinct future.
Right. Yeah.
Like, most experts have that uniqueness. So Brené Brown is very different from Tony Robbins in terms of what they create for their client's future.
Mm-hmm.
The different style. So once you understand that, which takes inquiry, I see the focusing of that inquiry is looking at your written up offer, which I help people create one page, and it has to be sexy and hot in a good way, in what I call business Shakespeare.
Right.
It compels you. When I read Shakespeare for the first time, some of you are looking like I'm crazy right now, but I fell in love with Shakespeare because the words are so concise and they create a future immediately for me. This is how it's going to show up for me if I let this kind of life.
Yeah.
As Puck in Midsummer Night's Dream, I can be the mischievous one and play. It creates a future for you and of something that's exciting and in treating. And that's important to do. Otherwise, you're just going to sell transactionally, and there's nothing wrong with that. Some people like playing the game of money. I've got nothing against that.
And I think that there are businesses that have to be transactional, right? Like selling life insurance, or
Sure.
there's some things that are just transactional. That's all they are. That's what they're meant to be.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
But there is a huge part of the world that is not transactional.
But I found even the transactional guys or gals come to me. They've been selling insurance and they've done it. Listen, Sunil, it's just a job. Then as I dig deeper, usually people start out as a job and then they find they're really good at it. And then they discover that, wow, they're really transforming people's lives with this job.
Mm-hmm.
So they don't like the doingness of it, but they like the beingness, which is being is about creating a future for people around, including yourself. So you're living into or being into a future from the future rather from the past. You can do either way, but
Right.
the people who are in the know, who have mastered what they've mastered, at some point they realize that what they're selling ain't insurance. It's something else. It's a future for people. And then when they get in touch with that, they suddenly start selling really effortlessly because they're touching on something that's dear and near to people. And most people don't have an opportunity to talk about the kind of things we're talking about right now. And it stimulates them. It gets them out of the kind of proverbial funk a lot of people are in because they're stuck in the doingness of life.
Mm-hmm.
And then you realize, oh, this is about being. So if I be something, I could do maybe different actions and get different results because it's kind of how it works. Be, do,
Right.
right? Most people have it that I'll have the money first, then I'll get to do the things I love to do. Then I'll get to love myself. It never works for you well. As it's for this is the picture you're going towards. And you can start being somewhat different now in my program. That'll give you actions commensurate with that, give you the kind of life you really want.
Yeah.
And then they get to choose. You see, now they're in a position of choice to choose your business or not, which is beautiful. Because most of the time,
It's beautiful. Right? Like, and to be the one that's chosen, I don't know what elementary school is like for you, but I still really hope I'm the one that's chosen after all those gym classes when I wasn't.
Yeah. You know, that's interesting because when I grew up, I thought I was an outcast because I was so different from everybody else. Then I realized quite recently, it's kind of weird how growth comes on you in older age, but you realize that your outcastery was really who your being is, someone who's different, perhaps a disruptive nature in a good way for people to realize something, an insight.
Mm-hmm.
Piss them off a little bit in the short run, but gives them freedom in the long run.
Yeah.
Then you realize, oh, your outcastery was because you just didn't fit in, perhaps.
Mm-hmm.
But it's useful. And so.
And also, don't you think it gives us a different, when you look at the world differently, you can get different results?
Absolutely. Yeah. It's how you create the context. So most people have the context of have, do, be, right?
Yeah.
And look how well that's working. I assert not very well, except in rare circumstances.
Right.
And you have to be pretty lucky. But when you have the context of be, do, have, things kind of flow better. You actually love yourself more because you realize you don't have to fit in.
Fitting in is a lot of pressure, man.
A lot of pressure. Yeah, a lot of pressure. But you can be distinct.
Because I don't think this might be a little bit of imposter syndrome, but truly, I don't know who fits in. I think in your secret moments at home, I don't know who's fitting in.
Yeah, well said. I mean, who determines that? Is there a standard bearer somewhere?
Right?
Yeah.
Right. Certainly not the people behind the Instagram posts.
Yeah, I doubt that.
Right?
I really doubt that. Yeah. Who gives anybody the right to standardize you?
Right.
The answer is nobody, really. And then, so who is it? Well, it might be you, but even that may not be true. Maybe you just decide or choose how you want to do this from now on. And you see, if you can articulate that and put that into a one-page offer, really demonstrating who you are in the process of who you are for the world and for the community and for your clientele. People go, this resonates. They
Yeah.
don't even know why it resonates, but I kind of understand why, because they're
Right.
present to their future again. Yeah.
Now I totally want to take your course.
Yeah. Well, we just upped the price. Only for
There's a
$9.99.
price just for you. It's only double.
Little price. Little price. I swear to God. Swear to God Almighty. Anyway, yeah, no, there's a connection between us, and this is how I do the Q&A. I mean, not so
Right.
joke sometimes, but, sometimes it's a serious conversation. But, it's connection. It's connecting with someone as a human being, human to human. People say be yourself, but what does that mean, right? Being yourself, I think, starts with understanding.
Gosh, I might be schizophrenic, but being myself is something different every day.
No, you're quite right. I can be. And there's nothing wrong with that. You do discover a core self, which is almost unshakable. For most people, they do. That core self could be a creator. You're a creator, so you create different selves.
Right.
But you have a core self that is the creator. You have a creative bent, perhaps. I forgot where I was going with this, but I swear it was brilliant, but I forgot. But
I think there is some brilliance there, that discovering that your core self helps you decide what you need to honor as you move forward and become who you're meant to be.
yeah, then all your gears start going in the same direction, which is useful. You see, then your clients that you desire fit your style, fit your integrity is a lot about having the gears go in the same direction. It also has to do with putting what's missing.
Mm-hmm.
People look at it as what's right and wrong, which has use, obviously. But if you only look at it for right or wrong, you will miss what's missing or what's conflicting. So you got to
Right.
those questions. What's conflicting for me that I need to face the truth about? For
Oh,
me, about
I'm going to
money.
write that down.
Yeah. So I don't know which part.
What's conflicting for me? Because I think that I know I have a tendency to try and make things work.
Yeah.
And lately, I go for a walk every day, and lately that's been on my mind, is maybe I'm trying to make things work when maybe I should be looking at what's conflicting for me and what I need to let go rather than try and make it work.
Could be. It's a more useful question to look at. Like what's conflicting? I want to do X, but Y is pulling me. I want to have X, but having Y is pulling me. So sometimes it's money or time that you feel is important, but it's not that important because you're not spending a lot of time learning how to make more money or time. So when you get truthful about that, you may discover that money is maybe more of the score you keep, or one of the scores you keep to measure how you're making a difference. See, then if you get that clear, most people start making way more money than they ever did before. Because they know they're putting the cart before the horse. See, they just focus on the money.
Yeah.
But if you focus on making a difference and then money is just a score keeper, then it gets interesting. So what's the score for? What's the money going to do? Okay, well, if my expenses are 100 grand a year and I make 300 grand, well, maybe I can make 50 grand of that, get a project manager. So my second year, I'm a lot easier in my life. Take another 50 grand, put it towards a nonprofit that serves the people who can't afford my programs and fund that with coaches, etc. as an example.
Yeah.
Now, suddenly making money has a whole different context. It's a different game. It's like soccer versus table tennis. It's a very different game now, but it's the game for you. It's a game that matches you, the kind of future you want to play, the score you want to keep, the style you have. So you can design something right, because if you know the game, etc., you know where you want to go with your business. Then it's what I tell people. You can either design for a Mercedes-Benz business or not design at all and end up with a Yugo car. I don't know. One of the worst cars designed. Please don't if you're from Yugoslavia. But it's a decision whether you want to design or not. Sometimes design takes patience to do. It always pays off in my books. Yeah.
Oh, well, this has been such a great conversation. I'm going to finish it by asking you, if you could go anywhere in the world this weekend, where would you go?
Bali. Hands
Bali.
down. Yeah. Bali. Or,
Why Bali? I haven't been to Bali yet.
well, I grew up in Singapore, so it's got that beautiful tropical weather. It was very close to Bali. And the service there is loving, kind, sweet, and it's very affordable to live there. And I can work joyfully, I can play joyfully, I can meet other expatriates in the afternoon,
Right?
cup of tea with somebody, walk around shorts and sandals, which I like to do. Look at me right now. I'm kind of overdressed. And,
Well, let's meet in Bali this time next year.
yeah, love to. Absolutely. Yeah.
Inspired me. Now I also want to go to Bali.
Oh, it's a beautiful place. And it's very spiritual, very conscious, about service. At least most of them are.
Yeah.
So that's why I love Bali. Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, awesome. Well, I loved this conversation. I expect that we'll have another conversation at some point soon. I love what you're doing with all this stuff. And I think so many people could learn from you, obviously, because you're going to be at how many joyful entrepreneurs?
100 million, at least 100 million joyful and successful entrepreneurs by 2050. Yeah. So
there you go.
I got a lot of work.
26 years.
Yeah, that's right.
There you go.
Nah.
Okay, well, have a wonderful weekend, and I will talk to you soon.
Oh, thank you very much, Jill.
Okay.
Thank you for being part of today's episode of Attract and Achieve. When you begin to work with today's guest, please reach out to me and let me know what kind of transformation and progress you are seeing in your life and your business. And let's schedule a follow-up podcast. Tomorrow's going to be the best day yet.